Final hour Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Mark Masters will join us here in a few moments. Men's basketball, Canada losing to France earlier today. They shot poorly. They were outsized, and it came back to haunt them. That was an issue coming into the tournament. Jamal Murray really, really struggled. Dylan Brooks struggled today. They just couldn't find it. They were chasing the game all day.
No,
they were down big early, and they chased it the whole game.
On a team with all kinds of NBA talent, and arguably, or not arguably, maybe the second best player in the tournament in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you got beat by a French team where it wasn't the NBA guys that beat you. It wasn't Wemby. You know, it wasn't exactly a banner performance for him. Rudy Gobert was really quiet. It was a bunch of, guys that you never really heard of. But they played hard, they were physical, they were bigger, and ultimately, they got off to a much better start. They buried Canada early, and they could never bounce back.
Yeah, and the refs weren't great. They're never great, but it's always a complaint from the team that loses.
Dude, and
when you
Canadians,
lose, it's so easy to complain about that.
I feel like we're so unified in Canada when it comes to poor officiating. When the Raptors are going on playoff runs, we're really unified that the refs hate the Raptors. Mm-hmm. Blue Jays, umpires, same thing. Anytime it's like Canada against the world, it feels like the officials are just, we rally around the officials being against us.
Right. Always the case.
We always do it with everything.
Yeah. And yet when you win, no one says anything about the officials.
No, never.
Right? Whenever there's a victory, it's not like, you know what, that official was really great.
Yeah.
Or very fair. You don't hear a word. It's always the losing team that complains about that kind of stuff. And, were there some cheesy calls one way or the other, missed calls one way or the other? Of course there were. But still, you lose as badly as they did today. That's on the players, man. France came out and smacked them early and often, and they chased the game the rest of the way. And they're out. And they're not going to medal. Now we're going to wait 4 more years to see if this golden era of Canadian basketball can do something at the Olympic Games.
And it's an opportunity missed because this was the team. And I know, we talked about it earlier. It took them a long time to get back to this point, but, they showed a lot of improvement over their round robin play, going 3-0, showing defensive improvement. They showed that they could play, different styles of game. And ultimately, you get into a one-game situation, you lose to France, and that's it. And now you don't get to take a chance at the Americans. You don't get a run at them.
Yep, you're not going to get there. All right, some Confirm or Deny After Dark a little bit later in the hour. Mark Masters here in a few moments. We were talking about this last hour. The Athletic comes out with this annually, where they allow fan bases throughout the NHL to vote based on 6 different categories, their confidence in their respective front offices. So the categories are roster building, cap management, drafting and developing, trading, free agency, and vision. So up on TSN2, you can see it. Florida's at number 1, Dallas is at number 2, Tampa's at 3. The Maple Leafs came in at 30. And I think that is a sign of how disappointed fans are, how emotional fans are, how angry they are that nothing's happened again this summer in terms of drastic change. Although the coach being turned over, that's a significant move for sure. But the core 4 is back. The core 5 is back if you include Morgan Riley and that. And I think there's a lot of animosity here in the fan base. So I'm not surprised that it would tilt towards the bottom third. I don't think they should be there. I think this front office probably should be somewhere in the middle. And if you break down the category, roster building, they're one of the 10 best rosters in the NHL. That's what they are. Whether they can win in the playoffs, obviously they have to prove that they can break through that. But if you give me 32 rosters on paper right now, they're one of the top 10. I believe now maybe they're 9, maybe they're 10. I don't think they're in the top 5, but I think they're one of the top third rosters in the NHL. Cap management, I get it. Core 4, not great. But these players on an individual basis are not rinsing you. Now, Tavares is not at $11 million anymore. What is he, a $7 million player, $8 million player? But Matthews is a $13 million player. Willie last year was an $11 million player. Mitch Marner, I believe, will be an $11 million player. I don't think you're getting value, don't get me wrong, but you're not getting ripped off by those guys. And they do manipulate the cap in order to come up with a Robidaw Island.
They always come up with it.
They actually do a pretty good job of working around a very fixed cap.
That's a strength of theirs. Pridham always finds a way to make sure that there is some money available to do what they need to do. Is it a lot of money? Is it $6 million for? No, but they'll find something.
Yes.
Whatever they can extract out of it, they will. So I don't think that's that needs to come into effect as well.
Right. The core 4, I get it. That applying that much money to 4 players is not smart cap management. But again, on an individual basis, they're not getting ripped off by those players. It's not like one of those guys is 38 over the hill and can't play anymore.
Willie Nylander was just playing on $6.9 million.
Yes.
Like, that was a value contract.
Right.
For a while.
I'd like to see it broken up. I've been saying that for quite some time. It didn't happen, so be it. We'll see what comes of it. But these guys are not going to kill you on an individual basis. Drafting and developing. Now, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they have to apply there. Morgan Riley, I guess, although it wasn't this front office. There's been other guys. Connor Brown's a good player. They drafted. I guess they developed him. They brought
Zach Hyman.
Zach Hyman, they didn't technically draft, but they did develop him. Right? They brought him up through the Marlies.
Yeah. He turned pro with the Leafs.
Right. And, Matthew Nyes, I think, is a pretty good player. They're definitely not in the top 10. I'm not sure they're in the top half. But they've also, perspective here, they've traded away a lot of picks. They haven't been able to build up their farm system that much. Okay, I dock them points compared to a lot of other teams in the league for draft and development, for sure, but it's not an unmitigated disaster. They're not one of the 5 or 6 worst. Maybe, what are they, 20th? Are they 22nd? Is there something like that?
On the second half, let's say.
Yes. Trading.
There were some bad ones.
They've made some awful trades. The Kadri trade was obviously horrendous.
Mason Marchment.
The Mason Marchment deal was horrendous for
Denny Malgin.
Gino Malgin. There's been so many now.
I don't know.
I'll give you trading as pretty awful.
Yes.
Like, how many have they won over the years?
Well, okay, I feel bad with this one because
and it should be more recent, right? It shouldn't be 7-8 years ago.
No, I know. I feel bad saying this one because I love Nick Foligno and he's such a good guy and he's such a great leader. But that trade did not work out for the Leafs.
No, it did not.
Right? It just didn't work.
Yeah.
He was hurt. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it didn't end up being a good trade.
Now, they've made some good trades. Like, they've made some. I think Luke Shen at the trade deadline last year was a great trade. I think Ryan O'Reilly, that deal.
A great deal.
Was a good deal. He injures his foot. He was great in the first round. They get to the second round. It just kind of fades. But Noel Acciari was a good piece. Ryan O'Reilly was a good piece.
The thing is, all the trades that came in were guys that left shortly afterwards.
Yes.
And all the guys that left were Nazem Kadri, who won a Stanley Cup. Mason Marchment, who's become a big part of the Dallas Stars. Those kinds of names and players that really solidified
you go way back
in
and
one
say
spot. Really.
Verhaeghe was a guy they had. Now that was a Lou. Just dump it, move on.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to take some hits there for trading. Free agency. They've signed a lot of players. Like, they've signed. It's not like they're adverse to signing. They get pretty creative. Recency bias, but I think Chris Tanis a good signing. I think Ekman Larsson's a pretty good signing. Middle of the pack. I guess that's what I'm getting to.
By the way, on the trades, quickly, Jake McCabe, Jake Muzzin. Pretty good trades.
Yeah. Even Jack Campbell gave them value originally. Yeah. Eventually it faded on them, but he did originally. And then vision, their vision, there isn't much vision at this point. The job is done, and they're just hoping it breaks their way. That's their vision.
The vision
is we're going to the playoffs, and hopefully it works for us.
The vision is to not abandon
it overly
the vision.
creative?
That's what it is. You had a vision, and now the plan is to not abandon it.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. They're not abandoning.
Exactly. So we broke down the 6 categories. I guess what I concluded was they should be somewhere in the middle of the pack for me in terms of confidence compared to other front offices around the league. 30th is absurd.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right. Here's Mark Masters, our TSN Maple Leaf reporter, tennis reporter. Mark, why don't we begin by talking about the Leafs here, because we've been referencing this ranking in The Athletic where the Leafs front office, according to Leaf fans, and I guess compared to other fan bases throughout the league, the front office here in Toronto ranks 30th in terms of the confidence that Leaf fans have. Based on your anecdotal evidence, talking to Leaf fans around the city, around the province, the country, around the world, does that make sense to you? Do you understand where Leaf fans are coming from with a ranking like that?
I guess it does make sense. I was scrolling down and looking for the Leafs when I was reading that. I was like, what? Did I miss them? It was strange to me because I think they're in a better spot and have been in a better spot than a lot of franchises around the NHL. A lot of franchises, fan bases would love to be in this spot that the Leafs have been in for potentially, every year, basically a playoff team. But I think this is just kind of people letting off steam, right? Like, this is just the Leafs Nation saying we're sick of no big move. We're sick of just the same things happening over and over again, and we're going to vent, and this is how we're going to vent. It's easy to do. This is how we vote. So that's how I took it. I mean, yeah, you talk to Leafs fans, friends, family. They're frustrated, right? Like, and they expected a bigger change this offseason. So I just think that Leafs fans are venting.
Do you feel like this, where they're at now, and vision is a part of it? Like, is this just them saying we're just not going to abandon our vision, or is it more like we don't want to do anything that shakes things up too much? Like we're afraid of what the what the outcry could be for that, or the fallout would be. Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely a sense that you don't want to force something to make a change for the sake of making a change, right? Like they again, you're in a position where you're making the playoffs every year. You got a chance, and if you can just hit it at the right time and figure it out. I mean, clearly they have faith in the core. That's what this era is going to be remembered for. So that clearly has not wavered, because if they had lost faith, they would have done everything in their power to make a change. So this is where they're at right now, and it's not easy to make a change. And that's the position they put themselves into, and that's probably why a lot of the fans were not happy in that poll.
Mm-hmm. With Mark Masters, Easton Cowan was a part of the junior camp recently, and he's going to be a big topic of discussion in about a month when everyone starts rolling through town and camp's opening up in like 6 weeks. What is your projection on Easton Cowan? How do you see the next 10 months of his life playing out? Do you think he's with the Leafs full time? Do you think he's with the Leafs for a bit, then back to junior? How do you see the next 10 months of Easton Cowan's career going?
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? Because he's still so young that it feels you don't want to put that on him that he's going to make the team and predict that. He's certainly capable of it. I like the way he's trending right now. I mean, both at the development camp that the Leafs held, and then now at this hockey camp, which was only a few days down in Windsor. Hockey Canada sent the returning players home early to focus on the other guys they don't know as much about and that are more in contention for spots. But he got good reviews there. Hockey Canada loved the attention to detail, the way he was being a leader. I think these are all good things to help him build momentum coming off an amazing season that he just had in the OHL. So he's in there with a chance. I mean, you can certainly see him starting the season in the NHL, getting an audition. Maybe they keep him around for a while, loan him to Hockey Canada. He'll wear a letter in Ottawa at the World Juniors. That would be an amazing experience. Maybe they find a way to do that. Obviously, we don't know. Craig Berube's, a different coach. We don't necessarily know how he's going to approach things with the Leafs and, what his appetite for putting a young guy in a big role in a big market. So we'll see. But I can't predict, but I wouldn't want to bet against him based on the two experiences I've just had with him this summer in the development camp and down at the Hockey Canada camp.
So from talking to him and getting to know him and, seeing him around the arena, how he interacts, watching him on the ice, like, do you think there's anything left for him to do at the junior level? Because I've heard that a little bit, and I don't know if I buy it yet. Like, I do still think, there's stuff you can learn. There's parts of your game you can kind of bring up at the junior level before making the jump to the NHL. Like, is he there where, he has to be in the NHL because there's nothing left for him to do in junior hockey?
Well, with the setup in London and you got the Hunters there, I feel like there's always ways that he can learn and get better. Obviously, I mentioned the World Juniors. Canada lost in the quarterfinals last year. He was part of that. That stung. That was bitter. And I don't think there's anything quite like a World Juniors on home ice. And I think that would be a tremendous developmental experience for him that he did not have last year. In terms of just anything else, I mean, he was already the MVP of the playoffs, most outstanding player. They lose in the Memorial Cup final. But I don't know, I guess that would drive you to get back there. He did everything he could. He was excellent through that whole run. So maybe that drives you to say, go back and finish the job. But there isn't a ton, but I always think there's something you can learn, especially with the setup in London. I think that there's always ways they can make him even more ready for the chance. And obviously a lot of great organizations over the years have wanted prospects to over-ripen down in the juniors or the American Hockey League. I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing, or his development would stall or anything like that.
With Mark Masters. So the National Bank Open has arrived. The women are in Toronto. The men are in Montreal. Bianca Andreescu playing a match tonight. Layla will play tomorrow. Where do you stand on the likelihood that one of the Canadians, either on the men's side or the women's side, have a chance at some sort of magical run here?
Yeah, I think on the women's side is probably the better chance right now. I think the fact that Bianca Andreescu and Leilani Fernandez, they didn't have long runs in the Paris Olympics. I mean, they did well. They both picked up wins, but they were able to get back to the hard courts with a little bit of wiggle room there. And a lot of the top players are not playing this year just because it's the fatigue factor, the surface change from the clay of Roland Garros to the hard court season. They want to give themselves a little bit more time. So I think that the fields aren't as strong. And I do believe both Bianca and Leilani are knocking on the door of a long run here at some point. I mean, Bianca's already made a final on grass since she came back, and she's still kind of building up a little bit and getting things going. And both her and Leilani, the hard courts have been their best surfaces for both of them. So, I feel like Fernandez has just been pretty consistent. She's picking up wins every week. She just hasn't had that long run. So I feel like they're both knocking on the door. In Montreal, I mean, Felix would be the guy, Auger-Aliassime, but what a turnaround, like to go from, playing as much as he did in Paris and playing, he was the only Canadian in all three events, right? He played doubles with Milos Raonic, mixed doubles with Gabby Dabrowski. They win that bronze medal, and then he goes all the way to the finals of the Final Four in the singles and has to play a bronze medal match there. So I don't know what he'll have left in the tank. Obviously, he'll get a boost from the Montreal fans, but I don't think it's fair to expect him to go on a long run this week. Shapovalov is interesting. He's starting to get revved up again. He skipped the Olympics because he felt he needed ranking points. He needed a chance to bank some prize money, considering he missed the second half of last year and his ranking has really gone down. So we'll see if that gives him a leg up on some of the other guys who are at the Olympics. So to me, Toronto is where I'm looking to see if there's going to be a long run this week.
I guess it's not surprising that Alcaraz and Djokovic both drop out with all the tennis that they've played and all the travel that's involved. With those two guys not being there, does that open the door for Jannik Sinner, and does anyone really stand in his way?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be the favorite. You never know, he's coming off the tonsillitis. I mean, what bad luck to have that pop up right and force you out of the Olympics every 4 years in tonsillitis. But he's the defending champ. It's kind of weird, right? Like, you're the defending champ in Toronto, but now you're in Montreal. So it's not like you're even coming back to the same venue. But yeah, Sinner's the guy. You got to think he's watching that Olympic tournament. He's seeing Alcaraz and Djokovic doing what they're doing. Alcaraz winning the French and Wimbledon, and Djokovic getting the Olympic gold medal. And now it's his turn to respond, isn't it? So yeah, Sinner's the guy to me that you're looking at and saying is, assuming he's in tip-top physical shape, and it sounds like he is. He's the odds-on favorite there.
Djokovic, Alcaraz, that match was electric. It was incredible, and yet Djokovic ends up beating him in straight sets. What does that do for him? I mean, he keeps building on his legacy, obviously. We know the slams and how many he's won, and he's always fighting with Nadal's legacy and Federer's legacy. Now you look at it, he adds a gold medal, and look who he beat in the final. He beats Alcaraz, a guy who's, obviously got him a couple of times recently in slams. He looked great. He reacted with incredible emotion. What did you make of Djokovic winning the gold, and what does it do for his legacy?
Yeah, I can't believe this guy. Like, every time you think, he's wowed you to the extent that he can't wow you again. So he has the knee injury at Roland Garros, can't finish that tournament, surgery. Remarkably, he's back at Wimbledon, where a lot of people I was talking to are like, okay, he's got to shut it down and just focus on the Olympics. Don't go to grass. Stay on the clay and get ready for the one thing he's never won in his career. But he goes to Wimbledon. He's in the final, and then he gets kind of beaten badly by Alcaraz, just kind of dismantled on that stage in the Wimbledon final. And everyone's saying, okay, this is Alcaraz's time. He's the younger guy. He's the hungry guy. And then they go to the Olympics. The one thing, it's his last chance. I know he's mused about playing LA in 2028, but this is really his last chance to get the one thing that he really wants that he's never been able to get. And then he goes there, and he has to face Alcaraz in the final, and he gets it done. It's remarkable, and the emotion was incredible. Forget about the travel and the surface changes for both Alcaraz and Djokovic. The emotional toll of that, they were both in tears afterwards. Alcaraz saying he felt like he let his country down. So yeah, I can't believe. But the question for Djokovic now is what's going to drive him, right? He's done everything. He's outlasted Federer and Nadal, really. Nadal's still kicking around, but he's outlasted them. He's got the gold medal. What will push him forward here? That's the question, is how he'll respond to this when he does get back on court, because he's completed tennis. There's nothing more for him to do.
Yeah, it's just an incredible career, man. And for him at his age, like you referenced, all the injuries, Alcaraz, in his prime, ready to rock, biggest stage, for him to take him down the way that he did was truly incredible. Great stuff, Mark. Always great catching up with you, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks, guys.
Mark Masters, our TSN Maple Leaf and tennis reporter, wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, very
World
talented
Junior,
guy. Always
everything
working.
covered.
Yeah,
everything covered. Yeah, man, Djokovic, he wanted that one pretty badly, and he got it. And then on the golf side, Scheffler, he shoot 9 under, 10 under. He shot a 62, I think. John Rahm just puked basically on the back nine, shot a 39.
Two things on that. Did you have a feeling that Scotty, it felt like he was sniffing around it, and it felt like he was
it was clinical on
I know,
the final round.
Guy
it was
just
a
doesn't
dart
miss.
show
And John Rahm, I don't know, have we talked about this enough this year? The year he's had, it's hard to judge what he's doing on Live Golf because it's a different format and it's weird and we don't really see it. But at the majors this year, I don't think John Rahm was anything special.
Nothing.
He didn't play one of them. I think at the Open he was okay.
Yeah, Masters, I don't even know if he made the cut at the Masters.
He might not have even made the cut. And then he goes here and he pukes all over himself for basically, the last 9 holes?
He shot 39 on the back.
Terrible.
39 on a course where these guys were going low. He had a 3-shot lead, I think, on 10T. And just
crazy.
He didn't even medal.
Nothing.
That's what's crazy is you don't even medal. I know it's a weird thing with Rahm because he looks like all I see from him on Live is him losing it about drones, about the crowd.
You signed up for it.
Yeah, what do you expect? He's like Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. He's bent out of shape that all these guys are yelling and
golf.
Yeah, exactly. He's he wants to call in Greg Norman and demand a recount or make sure everyone's playing based on the rules that he wants, and that's not Live.
Dude,
those guys don't play that way.
They gave him what? What they give him? $500 million?
Reportedly, 6 is what I heard.
They gave him $600 million. I think you can deal with the drone.
Yeah,
that's why.
And just play.
That's why you're getting that much money because you got to deal with the little bit of the sideshow act that comes with it. That's what you signed up for.
And what has been leaked out, I'm not sure how much I believe this, is that he feels like he got duped. That he was the guy that was going to finally break the camel's back. When Rahm left, then clearly the PGA and PIF were going to come together immediately and say, well, this can't continue. And that's not what's happened. And by all accounts, they're still years away from finding some sort of resolution here.
Yeah.
And Rahm's just got to, listen, I'm not shedding tears for John Rahm. If he made $600 million, you made your bed. You sleep in it, man. It's not that, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
I don't see Bryson complaining.
Bryson's still living his life.
Dude, Bryson, he goes to the Open. He's like, yeah, I wasn't prepared. He was totally honest. Wasn't prepared.
Yep.
I was hitting a draw. Should have been hitting a cut. Yeah, whatever.
But he won his U.S. Open. Brooks Koepka's won the PGA. DJ, I think, just goes about his business. Phil goes about his business. But Rahm is still in a position where, he's trying to build upon his legacy. And in order for him to do that, he's got to win a gold medal if he's in a position like that. He's got to compete in the majors. And I have no doubt that he will. And he has won a Masters and a U.S. Open. He still had a great, great career up to this point. But he's got to get it done. You got 4 events now. There's no building up your resume because you won the Players and you won the Genesis and the Arnie Palmer. It's wow, it's a great season. That's unbelievable. If you're on Live, the only way you're going to get attention is if you win a major.
Yeah, no one really cares about Live at the Greenbrier.
Nobody cares.
It's not a legacy maker.
No, it's not.
Show up at the majors. You had an opportunity at the Olympics, which, by the way, you were in the lead. It was in your control. I think that's the thing that would frustrate him the most. It was it's not like Scotty came up and stole it from him. Not like Fleetwood stole it from him either. It was you puked it away in 9 holes for an Olympic gold medal.
You shoot just a routine 1 or 2 under like he would in his sleep, and he wins gold.
Yeah.
And it went the other way.
And I'm not surprised Scotty won because it's just it's the year of Scotty, and
he's the PGA Tour Player of the Year. I get what Schauffele has done. Winning the PGA and the Open Championship is incredible. Scheffler winning the Masters, a gold medal, and I don't know if the gold medal accounts for this because it's not a PGA sanctioned event, although the majors aren't either, and we include those. So yeah, it should.
Yeah,
if the Open Championship does or whatever, this should too. But this guy's won the Players gold medal, the Masters, basically every elevated event there is, like effectively. The Arnold Palmer, he won at the Memorial, he won at the Travelers, he won at, where else did he win?
It
He won
shouldn't
at
even
the
be a
RBC in Harbortown.
It shouldn't even be a conversation.
Like, I'm
about
forgetting how many massive tournaments this
and I
guy's
think
won.
like this is another thing where it's like the Mahomes versus McDavid. You know, who would be the MVP? Where it's like Scheffler constantly has to keep proving himself and raising the bar. Where Schauffele has a really good year. You know, he wins those big tournaments, and it's like he's completely changed the perception of him, which is great. It's still not what Scheffler did.
You're right.
It still isn't.
This is a perfect example of the bar being set too high based on excellence of an individual player. Because Schauffele had a great year. You win 2 majors. That's elite company. Like, very few players in golf history have won 2 majors in the same year. Scheffler's never done that. But it's chasing a different story is what it is. If you give it to Schauffele, it's more about, I don't want to give it to Scheffler again. Right now, let's see what happens with the FedEx, right? Like, let's see what happens.
And you're going to make the argument with Schauffele, like he completely erased the perception of him as a guy who couldn't win or would choke it away or, you know, couldn't close on the, you know, on the final round. Like, he changes that perception in the big tournament.
He's had a great year.
There's the narrative there.
Year. But Scheffler's had a better year.
I agree. It still is Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
that guy
Scheffler.
every week is in the mix, top 10s, winning tournaments. Like, he doesn't miss.
Yeah.
He never falls off.
Masters, the Players, and a gold medal. That to me trumps 2 majors by Schauffele. And then
constant.
on top of it, the Memorial, the Arnold Palmer. You know, like, he's won it all, man.
Yeah.
Who won at Riviera this year?
I don't know.
Did he win at Riv?
I don't know.
He might have, and I can't even remember.
Probably did.
I know Matsuyama, did he win it 2 years ago? I can't remember. Maybe it was Matsuyama this year. Anyway, all right, we'll continue with Confirm or Deny. A little Confirm or Deny after dark.
Told you, we got a lot of takes.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of takes. Jay's back in action tonight as well. We'll look ahead to that. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I have 2 plays in the Jays game tonight. I'm on the Orioles money line. Parlay that with Vladdy to record a hit. You get plus 124 on that parlay. So best of both worlds if you're a Blue Jay fan right now. You understand they're going to lose. I think Baltimore, they're coming in. You know, they've been up and down. It's not like Baltimore's been flying. But they're pursuing top spot in the AL East. It's going to be them and the Yankees down the stretch. But Baltimore's just clearly a better team. They have way more offense. It feels like they spanked the Jays basically every series now.
Who is it that just loves beating up on the Jays?
Well, Mountcastle's the guy. Mountcastle steps in and just destroys. So Gunnar Henderson's destroying everybody. Rushman is just like the definition of a guy you want on your team behind the plate, everything about him. I mean, they're loaded. Like, Baltimore is loaded. So I'm on Baltimore tonight, but Vladdy's red hot as well. I got Vladdy to record a hit, Baltimore outright, paying plus 124. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, confirm or deny continuation. Okay? Statements are made. We confirm them. We deny them. It's very simple. Confirm or deny, Canada's men's basketball team not finishing with a medal is the biggest disappointment of these games.
Ooh, for Canada? Yeah, I'll confirm that. I'll confirm that. For sure. You have all that NBA talent. You have the second best player in the tournament. You have some good defensive players in Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks. Like, absolutely. That is a team that should have medaled, regardless of the fact that they haven't been here and they haven't, had a lot of experience on this stage. I think you look at the pedigree of the players and the skill level, there should have been a medal there. And they actually got through the group of death 3-0. So you could say that the hard part was done. There should have been a medal there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's other examples here, like the women's soccer team, not necessarily the drone stuff, but the fact that they got through. Like they overcame a 6-point penalty. And they got through. They go 3-0 in the group stage, just like the men's basketball team. You're like, here we go. They get to the next round, losing penalties. That would have been an incredible story. I think it would have been like them going rogue and basically saying, screw it, we'll take on FIFA, we'll take on the IOC, Bev Priestman, John Herdman, Canada Soccer Association, whatever it is. I would have loved to have seen that story play out. So I'm disappointed that didn't happen. Damian Warner not medaling, although I'm not sure that was going to be a reality anymore. Andre DeGrasse kind of at the end of the road for his career. He's been an unbelievable Olympian. Disappointing, but I'll confirm this as well because the men's basketball team, there's been so much hype. It's decades in the making. You know, they punched their ticket last summer. There was so much euphoria that came out of that. So much buzz about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray, them taking this program to new heights. And now they can't even play for a medal. One thing, you know, you finish fourth, you lose in the bronze medal game. At least you get a couple more games out of it, right? You're not even going to be able to play for a medal. That is the disappointment.
Yeah, they're not sniffing around.
They're not. I mean, and now France, what is their history? Yes, you got Wemby. Yes, you got Gobert. You've had some pretty good players. Canada's better than them. They're better than them, and they've been taken out. And the way it went down as well, they just didn't have a great effort
That's
today.
the thing that stings, I think,
they played
the most.
poorly. They shot poorly. Their ball control was horrible. And they got pushed around early.
They were soft. They were the softer team.
Yeah, that's disappointing the way you go out.
Yeah, they never it never felt like they were threatening in that game, and it all started with the start, really, where they dug themselves such a big hole that it's too hard to come back.
We basically just answered this one, but we'll throw it out. New audience. Confirmed tonight, Scotty Scheffler deserves Player of the Year over Xander Schauffele.
That is a confirmed. Yes, we did talk about this. We went into great detail. But listen, like there's one constant on the PGA Tour this year is that Scottie Scheffler is going to make the cut, going to be in the top 10. And yes, it's a hyperbolic statement, but that's the way it feels. Every week you watch the PGA Tour, and he won so many tournaments this year. I think that has to outshine what Schauffele did winning the two majors. Like Scottie Scheffler was more dominant than Xander Schauffele.
I agree. Confirm. You know, two majors is incredible. Good for Xander. But like we said last segment, the Masters, the Players, gold medal, all those other elevated events where it was stacked fields, it's Scheffler. Confirmed tonight, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will go down as the greatest Canadian basketball player of all time when he retires.
I'm going to deny that. Would it not be Steve Nash?
Steve Nash. I'm denying it too. It's Steve Nash.
It's Steve Nash until further notice.
You got to get 3 MVPs to pass him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like he would have to put together some kind of incredible resume where it would have to include championships as well.
Yes.
Like to beat Steve Nash. I don't see that happening.
I don't either. I mean, Steve Nash, to win 2 MVPs, you know, he was there in 2000, the last time they went to the Olympic Games. Now Shai's been there as well, punched a ticket, so they're kind of even in terms of international ball. Shai's an incredible player. I wouldn't be shocked if he won an MVP. I would not be shocked at all. But Nash has already done it. And there's something to the first guy to do it, right? The first player to do it, using golf and as an example, Mike Weir won first. The next Canadian, if you want to pass Weir, I think you got to win like twice. You know what I mean? You got to surpass him. You got to have more, you know, significant achievements. And I just think it's a very difficult resume to pass. Like Steve Nash being the first guy, winning multiple MVPs.
And the way
I love Shai.
it.
I love the way he plays, but man, I think it's very tough to pass Steve Nash.
And how about the way Steve Nash did it? Like that's always got to be at the forefront too. Like, you know, the assists, like how, I don't know, like how sneaky and cheeky of a player he was. Like it wasn't always the most orthodox of play
the
for
way
him.
he played,
he
the
was
vision,
very different.
Yep. The way, like when that Phoenix team was coming together, man, the 7-second offense,
the deception that he had, like it was just watching Steve Nash play. That guy was playing a different game than the other players on the court, and you know, like that has to come into the conversation as well. Yeah, how you did it.
Absolutely. I'm rooting for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that'd be incredible to see, but I'm not convinced we're going to get there. All right, there you go. A little confirmed with an eye after dark. I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all the takes. All the takes you had for the last 2 weeks.
Hit. You know what? I got to give a shout out. I went to Canada's Wonderland on Friday, which was a really dangerous play prior to showing up because it was a Friday in the summer. We were in the midst of like a heat wave, yet it was right before the long weekend. We went there as a family. Not a lot of people. I hope Wonderland's doing okay. I think they are. It's a great spot. Love Wonderland. Like, there were a lot of people there, but like we go every single year. It's an annual thing, and we have been there the last few years with young kids. It is packed. Like, you can't move, and when it's that kind of heat, you're like, this is really uncomfortable.
I live right by it. You know when you got to go? like 9:30 on a weekday.
That's what we did. Friday, we got there bright and early. We were at the line waiting for the guy to pull the rope.
That's what you need to do.
Boom, right to Thunder Mountain. First ones. First ones. I said, kids, just keep up because I'm sprinting. We were the first ones on. It was amazing. And it was really good. We kept going on rides. The heat wasn't too crazy. And I don't know if this is something that happens all the time. Again, I go there once a year. It's our one trip where we're like, we're going to Canada's Wonderland. We're bringing you. Let's go have a great time. They were blaring Canadian rock bands all day. Like I'm talking, like we're waiting for the rope to drop and our cows are playing. And then it goes into the Tragically Hip. Then Neil Young starts belting out music. I'm like, this is actually wild, but okay, maybe it's the part of the park I'm in. Then we're in Snoopyville or whatever it is, and April Wine's playing. And then I'm over here and BTO's playing. I'm like, it's nonstop CanCon rock, and I love it. And whoever made that decision at Wonderland, you're a grit grinder and you're an absolute beautician. And I think that's exactly what should happen every time I'm at that park. If I can make one request, please just play Canadian rock bands every time I'm there.
Listen,
it's amazing.
It is Canada's Wonderland for a reason, so I guess that makes sense. And I would imagine the gentleman who is putting together that kind of playlist owns so much denim.
Yes.
So many different styles.
Yeah.
Like we're talking jorts, we're talking like tight jeans,
with a little
loose
plaid
jeans.
maybe mixed
We're
in.
talking t-shirt denim. We're talking jean jackets, and not just one of each.
Yeah.
Like a whole closet.
It's incredible,
of each.
man. Like
Yeah.
I was waiting in line at Vortex. I tweeted this out. April Wine double shot.
Yeah.
Like April Wine is blaring. April Wine's so underrated.
It is. Yes,
They
are.
are such a great band.
Yeah.
I love April Wine.
Any Max Webster?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There would have to.
I
be.
heard Kim was in there. Kim Mitchell was
Patio
rocking.
lanterns.
Yeah, absolutely. Max Webster was in there. Gowan, I think, snuck in.
Wow.
A lot of 80s Canadian bands.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's,
Our Lady
that's,
Peace was being played, as they should, of course. Shout out OLP.
That's the theme you're sticking with.
Yeah, all Canadian rock bands.
Go for it.
It was great.
I know someone, there's someone on my street, young kids. They were saying that you could do Canada's Wonderland during the week, 40 minutes, you're in and out of there, you do 4 rides, you're gone.
It's great. It's great.
Like, get all the energy out of the kids, see you later.
Yeah. See,
Because-
now my kids are getting older where they're going on like roller coasters now.
Are you good with the rides? You good with the big rides?
Yeah, I'm good with the rides. I got snuck. My brother-in-law pushed me onto Leviathan a couple years ago, which I wasn't prepared for that. I like it. I'm all about thrills and I'm all about roller coasters. Like but I had never been on it. I hadn't been there in a while. And whenever I've been going, it's kids, and we're in the Kidsville and Snoopyville and all that. I'm just sitting around, and I'm way too tall for these rides. My knees, I look like a complete idiot because I'm like Ghoster Coaster. I got to go solo, legs to the side.
Yeah.
Like that, I can't be facing forward with my kids. Like, you have to go by yourself because I need my own cart sideways. That's me on the Ghoster Coaster because I'm too tall. And anyway, we were there, his kids, my kids, and we had a moment. And he's like, Leviathan, we walked by, there was no line. We're like, let's do it. Got the green light from the wives. They said, go ahead. We'll see you in Snoopyville in 20. I was going up that first ramp, and I'm like, what the hell have I got myself into?
Did they let you hang a little bit at the top?
Well, here's the thing.
Just
We
to
were the
look around?
last cart.
Oh.
So that's the biggest whip.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is a hang. If you're in the front, you get over, and then there's a tilt. If you're in the last cart of Leviathan, it is the craziest ride I could ever imagine on Earth.
You can't be at the back, but you also can't be at the front.
Front's terrifying too
if
because you're
at the
coming
front
over.
and yet you start doing that little dip,
Yeah.
where it like turns inverse a little bit. I can't handle that.
And you know what
can't
the
do
thing is
that.
about Leviathan is they do the buckle. It's just the waist.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's
you're
not
over the
shoulder.
top. Like if there's a shoulder brace you can do in your sleep.
Yeah.
Vortex is great. The Yukon ride, I can't remember what it's called. Something Yukon, where that's the one where they let you hang, but you're in your shoulders. There's nothing. If it's just a waist, dude, I was freaking out a couple years ago, man.
I can't do that.
It was a wild ride. It's a great ride.
Was there any fraud talk around there?
A couple of fraudulent looks
Because I feel
it wasn't crazy. I mean, I got my kids with me.
That's
and
the
stuff.
thing. But I feel like at a place like that, you go sunglasses.
A lot of
put a hat on.
down sunglasses. A
People
lot
are
of hat down sunglasses.
As long as you're not wearing like an Overdrive shirt or anything
Right.
TSN related, I feel like you could sneak through there.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
I snuck by pretty well. But it's a big moment, man, when your kids get old enough where, like, I brought my oldest on Vortex. That was huge. We did the Fly as a fan. My 5-year-old's on the Fly just cruising
the
around,
Fly
man.
feels like you're falling off.
The Fly is as terrifying as any other ride.
Because
when it makes that first left turn rapidly, you're like, I'm going over this thing.
Because you kind of think it's an old enough ride where it's like, I could fall off.
Right. Maybe. I've been eating a lot. I've been drinking a lot recently.
You sneak in any funnel cake?
You know what? We didn't end up doing the funnel, and I owe everyone an apology for that.
You have to do the funnel cake.
It's an amateur move.
You
they
know
got
what you
beaver
do?
tails up there. They got it all. It's a great spot.
You know what you do? You say to the kids, let's go. We'll grab some funnel cake. We'll make a drive out of it, and we'll eat it on the way home.
Yep.
Go get some funnel cake. Maybe
You're
some
right.
Tiny Tom's Donuts.
Very, very good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my fault. I owe them maybe another trip. Maybe we got to get back up there before the season comes to an end. All right, Jays Orioles tonight. We'll come back and tee that up. Look back on a busy afternoon. Frankie's in here. I'm Brian Hayes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Yeah, we need to mix in way more April wine.
Big time.
Like it needs to be a fixture. I think at least one time a show. Or at least a couple times a week. I mean, we don't want to oversaturate with CanCon necessarily. We love Canadian content. Love it. Love the Canadian rock bands.
Let's not get
April wine is
fatigue, right?
Let's not get April wine fatigue. But if you're not familiar with April wine, they're such an elite band.
Dude, you know what's an undercover track
So
for April
elite.
wine? I just pulled them up on Spotify. Sign of the Gypsy
Yeah,
Queen.
Son
Are you kidding me?
of the Gypsy Queen.
When that comes on, it's windows down and it's blaring.
The best.
Yeah. Go
Roller. I like the Rocks. Are great too. That's a rink song. Like that's a face-off intermission type of song.
Yes.
Waiting to get the boys buzzing again.
Oh yeah.
That would have been a big warm-up song in the O, I'll bet, back in the 80s.
You have
early
to
90s.
imagine. Yeah, you have to imagine.
Yeah.
I remember putting the CD together for the guy, whoever played the warm-up music. It was like, put a CD together for us and we'll play it for you for warm-up.
Yeah.
We had to do it. That
I
was
remember
our
that-
responsibility.
I remember
as players.
the same thing. Like we had a guy that put together a CD and had to give it to the sound person
Yeah.
at the rink, and they just pressed play.
Dude, we asked the local radio station up in Sudbury, the local DJ there, this guy G-Rant. We went to G-Rant. We're like, G-Rant, can you make us like a whole mix of stuff? Like get us having the best warm-up tunes in the OHL.
Mm-hmm.
And he just gave us a CD with a bunch of songs, like not mixed together, like nothing, no DJ to any.
Amateur,
And so
man.
we gave it to the arena guy. He's like, there's 46 songs on here. I can only play 5 for warm up. Like, what are you guys doing to me here? We thought G-Rant was taking care of this.
Now, G-Rant jammed you up.
We got bamboozled by G-Rant.
Yeah, I remember there was some, I wouldn't say controversy, but whoever was responsible would have been a veteran that put it together, picked some like bad tracks like the first time we played it. And I was a rookie. I wasn't going to say anything, but some of the vets were like, what are you doing? Like, that's a bad song. Or it's too mellow. Like, why are you playing that song? No Rain can't be played
No.
in warm up, or whatever it is.
You know what was always played in Barrie? Dust on the Bottle.
Yes, it was a big one.
Which was, I
Dust on
appreciated
the-
that. Like,
Great. It is a great country song,
It's a
but
good
country's
country
not
song.
usually one that gets played in a pregame.
Exactly. But it worked. I don't know. For some reason, it worked. But that's a tough job. Like the dressing room DJ guy, it's a very thankless job. Everyone's got a chirp for you when the song sucks, but no one's like patting your back on the way out
Yeah.
to the ice.
I know, you can't win. You're right. Because if you go with a classic, if you play AC/DC or Queen or something like that, someone's going to say, what are you doing? Like, this isn't 1974 anymore. Then if you try to play something more modern or new age, you're going to get the guy that's like, where the hell's AC/DC?
Dude, although-
or Metallica.
Yes, every once in a while you throw in like, we were into like the EDM or the hip hop and stuff, but every once in a while it was like a big game and whoever was doing the room would throw on some like Welcome to the Jungle and look around at the boys and be like,
Let's
we
go.
ready tonight, boys?
Yeah.
Like this
You can't
one,
miss with some of those songs.
this one means business.
Yeah.
Kickstart My Heart. It's a business game tonight.
Definitely.
Like,
Motley
let's go.
Crue's playing. That's their anthem. you can't miss with that kind of stuff. Metallica, Enter Sandman.
Oh yeah,
Can't miss.
if you could time it so that the drop on Enter Sandman
when you walk onto the ice, the best. The coolest thing about the O was, this is the only recollection I have too, is the home team got on the ice first, right? So you do the big lap down the other, like that was my move.
so
man.
old school.
It was so old school. You got like, I think you got 5 minutes before the opposing team. I think you
Really?
Yes, when I played, it was 15 minutes for the home team and 10 for the road team.
No.
Yes. So the road team would be sitting there like watching you warm up, and you'd be doing laps on their side of the ice.
That's chewing gum, trying to intimidate
That was the best.
them.
It was the best. Yeah, the home team would get a longer warm up. Obviously, they changed that by the time you got to the O. That was the heyday, man.
Yeah.
That was April Wine, just doing his thing. All right, Frankie, good stuff, man. I don't know who's in the rest of the week. I don't ask
I'm
those
with
kind
you
of
tomorrow.
questions.
With you.
Okay, I think Strutty might be on tomorrow too.
Hey, there we go.
All right, a 3-pack tomorrow. We look forward to that. Good stuff, everyone behind the scenes, for helping out, everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Sign of the Gypsy Queen at 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.